This dust, this simple black powder, was not created to kill. It was born from a quest to defeat death itself. Yet, it was directly responsible for the end of the medieval world. The fall of the most fortified cities in history, and the rise of the first truly global empires. To understand how this fire drug redrew the map of the world, we must trace its extraordinary journey. This is not the history of a single battle. This is the biography of gunpowder. Our narrative begins not on a battlefield, but in a quiet smoke laboratory in 9th century China. The protagonist of this biography is an accident. His parents were Taoist alchemists, men obsessed with a single divine goal: creating the huoqi, the elixir of immortality. They were not warriors. They were mystics and chemists. The primary sources tell us of their experiments. They mixed sulfur, a substance they associated with yin and the earth, with charcoal. But the key was a crystalline mineral scraped from the earth, saltpeter, or potassium nitrate. This, they believed, was the ultimate expression of yang, a powerful, life-giving force. As historian Tonio Andrade explains, their goal was to find a combination that would be stable, that would grant equilibrium, and, therefore, life. Instead of equilibrium, they found chaos. The mixture didn't grant life. It erupted in a flash of violent purple fire and acrid smoke. One text, the classified essentials of the mysterious way of the true origin of things, warned other alchemists explicitly. Smoke and flames result, so that their hands and faces have been burnt. And even the whole house where they were working, burnt down. They had failed to create an elixir. They had created Huo Yao, the fire drug. But this new creation was not immediately weaponized. It was a tool for magicians, a way to drive away evil spirits. With its sudden, demonic noise. It was packed into bamboo tubes to create the first fireworks, a celebration of light and sound. Its potential energy, its interconnectivity with human ambition, lay dormant. It was a solution, still waiting for the right problem. The fire drug was about to leave the monastery. and find its true purpose in the hands of the state. And its journey would set the world ablaze. The fire drug's journey from spectacle to weapon was swift. In China, the Song dynasty, facing immense pressure from northern invaders, were the first to weaponize the alchemist's accident. They didn't create cannons, not at first. They created weapons of terror, fire lances, a bamboo tube packed with powder and shrapnel, a short-range flamethrower. They attached rockets to arrows and created crude hand grenades. As historian Peter Lorge notes, this was a desperate search for a silver bullet by a dynasty on the brink. The powder was a tactical tool, but it had not yet changed the nature of war. For that, our protagonist had to travel. And it found the perfect vector, the Mongol Empire. In the 13th century, the Mongols, in their siege of China, encountered these fire weapons. They recognized their power, captured Chinese engineers, and adopted the technology with devastating efficiency. The fire drug was now part of the logistical and intellectual network of the largest land empire in human history. It moved as fast as a horse could gallop. It collided first with the Islamic world. Mamluk forces in Egypt were likely the first to decisively use true cannons, what they called midfa, to repel the Mongols themselves at the Battle of Ain Jalut. The student had used the master's weapon against him. By the 1300s, Arabic military treatises contained precise formulas for gunpowder, not for magic, but for war. The knowledge had been captured, studied, and refined. But its biography was far from over. Its most significant collision was yet to come. When gunpowder finally arrived in Europe, likely via the Silk Road and Venetian merchants, it found a continent in the grip of a 1,000-year-old military doctrine. The stone wall and the armored knight. Feudal power was measured in the height of your ramparts and the strength of your castle. The powder itself was unimpressive. It was serpentine powder, a weak, dusty mixture that was unstable and inefficient. But it collided with a unique and parallel stream of European technology, metallurgy. For centuries, European artisans had perfected the art of casting enormous, complex bronze bells for their cathedrals. This was high technology, a mastery of high-temperature furnaces, complex molds, and metallurgical science, all in the service of faith and trainee transit. This expertise was the missing piece. When the idea of gunpowder, the fire drug from the East, collided with the craft of bell casting from the West, the modern cannon was born. The first firepots were crude. The primary sources tell us they were little more than metal vases, often firing arrows or simple stone balls. They were unreliable, slow to load, and just as likely to explode, killing their own crew. Their primary use, as documented at the Battle of Crécy in 1346, was psychological, to frighten the horses with their demonic smoke and sound. But this collision sparked an arms race. The 100 Years' War between England and France became a crucible for ballistic innovation. Kings poured state resources into developing this new, unholy technology. But to trace that, we must follow the work of military historians, who track the rapid evolution from small bronze bombardels to the great iron bombards. European smiths learned to cast with cheaper, stronger iron. They learned to corn the powder, granulating it to allow oxygen to circulate, dramatically increasing its explosive power and stability. The fire drug had now been fully transformed. It had traveled 5,000 miles, exchanging the robes of the Taoist alchemist for the iron chasing of the European siege engine. The potential energy it was unleashed in that 9th century China Harab was now concentrated, aimed, and sitting at the gates of the medieval world. The age of the wall was about to end. The moment of ultimate impact, the event that proved the world had changed forever, arrived on April 6th, 1453. Sultan Mehmed II, determined to break the unbreakable, brought an arsenal of new super weapons. The largest, a great bombard cast by the engineer Orban, was a monster of bronze, firing 1,200-pound stone balls. For 53 days, the fire drug hammered the walls that had defied every army in history. On May 29th, those walls, the very symbol of medieval defense, were breached. Constantinople fell, and the Middle Ages fell with it. The biography of gunpowder now entered its final, world-shaping chapter. The impact was absolute. The feudal system, built on the security of the stone castle, crumbled. Local lords and knights could no longer defy a king who could afford an artillery train. Power, once decentralized, consolidated around a new entity, the modern state. The gunpowder empires, the Ottomans, the Safavids, the Mughals, were forged by this new monopoly on force. In Europe, kings now have the power to enforce their will, creating the centralized nations we recognize today. But the powder's journey wasn't finished. It went to sea. European shipbuilders combined this technology with their advanced sailing vessels, creating the galleon. This was the true engine of the modern age. It was a weapon that could cross an ocean and shatter a city. A tool of projection that allowed a handful of Atlantic nations to build the first truly global empires we spoke of in our hook. The quest for an immortal elixir in a 9th century Chinese lab had, after a 700-year journey, given birth to a force that dismantled the old world and forged the new. The interconnectivity of this narrative is inescapable. That inert black dust is the catalyst that connects Taoist alchemy to the fall of castles. The biography of gunpowder is not just a story of the past. It is a living network, a thread of causality that runs directly into the present moment. The challenge for us as history detectives is to see these hidden connections. The research for this video raised one question I couldn't answer. What do you believe is the most significant non-military impact of gunpowder's discovery? If you found a source I missed, please share the cargo in the comments below.